Well, you've done it. You went to Costco, you saw those beautiful trees for only 15 bucks, and you brought home some of these. Well, I'm gonna show you how to plant these bare root trees right now. All right, you guys, this is gonna be a pretty quick and dirty tutorial talking about how to plant these bare root trees that we got at Costco. This tutorial will also work for any bare root tree you really get anywhere. It's not a very complicated process, and just follow the steps and you should be totally okay. Also, as a note, it is important to understand that no matter how many videos you watch or how many instructions that you read, you're gonna see a lot of people do things a little bit different. And so this is my way of doing it and it works. So there you go. First thing we want to do is we want to go ahead and take our trees and we want to unwrap them and get them into a bucket of water, which I have right here. So let's go ahead and do that. There you go, that big giant bag, and that is all that I got, this tiny little root ball. Oh wow. All right, so let's get this, put it in our bucket. And all of this sawdust was simply to keep that root ball moist. And so it's not soaking wet, but it's not dry either. The bucket is gonna function to get those roots nice and saturated while we dig our hole. And this is why we put it in the bucket before we start digging our hole. What do you want, Rooster? Now pulling our second one out. See what this root ball looks like. And this one's about exactly the same as the last one, so let's go ahead and get that in our water soaking while we dig our holes. When you are planting your tree, you'll read all the time about how it's important that you have to plan on the tree's fully mature growth. And I have a perfect example right here of this peach tree that I'm replacing, which is why I have two peaches over there, is that when I planted this, it seemed that there was a whole lot of room between my house in between the fence of the garden here, but look how big this thing grew to where this little walking path right here, this is all I got, and I've trimmed this back every single year. Now, unfortunately, and these pictures will show, this peach tree is on its last leg, which is why I got a couple peaches to begin with. So when you're planning on planting that tree, put it in a place that when it gets this big, which for me that's about 15 to 20 feet wide because I prune it to where it's squatty and spread out, that when that tree grows to that mature height, it is not getting in the way of you mowing your lawn or trying to walk through someplace. So here we are at our hole, and you're gonna see that while I was digging, I got some pretty nice dirt around here. The dirt that I have over here in southern Idaho is called a sandy loam. But even though I still have a nice kind of looser soil, it's not full of excessive clay or excessive sand, I still bought this organic planting mix. It's meant to go in the ground. So with this tree, it was right there next to the tree, so I went ahead and picked some. And if we just open this up, this is just your, a standard supplement that's full of organic material, even though the dog wants to put some organic material in there. And so what I'm going to do is, you'll notice that I dug this hole a whole lot bigger than it needs to be. This root on this tree is very tiny relative to the size of this hole, and I did that so that the roots are going to be able to grow unimpeded, that it's going to be nice loose soil that they're working through. Dog, get out of here. And so I'm going to be adding this, a couple scoops of this planting soil along with the regular soil that I have here. I'm gonna mix it up just like I'm baking something, getting it nice and incorporated in there as a soil amendment. And so that color should really reflect, the color of your soil should really reflect what you got going on in there. This potting soil, or this planting soil, is also going to help retain a little bit of moisture as well. And that will be helpful for the tree to grow. And so what I'm gonna do now is I'm gonna take the tree that I'm gonna plant right here, and I'm gonna hold it up to the hole. I'm gonna notice where the topmost roots are, and I'm also gonna notice kind of where the level of the soil. You don't wanna submerge it too much. Rooster, get out of here. you don't want to put it in there too far down in, but I want to put it down far enough to where I can make a bowl for this thing. So that seems about right to me, and so I'm going to slowly just kind of work that. I'm going to jiggle this tree a little bit. I am not going to damage these roots. I'm going to do everything I can to make sure that I'm not going to cause any damage to them. There's barely any in this tree in the first place. So the last thing I want to do is damage them. So I got some regular soil. Rooster, get out of here. Any of you guys have a retriever, you know what that's like. Okay, I'm gonna firm it up again. Take a scoop of this, and then take some of my other dirt and bring it in here. And we're gonna wanna make sure that that top root, the root that was highest on this tree, gets covered with this mixture of the potting soil or the amendment and the regular dirt you have wherever it is that you live. Get that down there nice and tight. And make kind of a tree well. I'm making sure that that root is under the ground, that it's firmed up in here. Now, some of you might wonder if you should be putting a stake in. Don't put a stake in. It's helpful for the tree to be able to bend in the wind, and that's a whole nother conversation about how the tree strengthens itself. But you're about to see what we're gonna do to this poor tree that you just bought. I know you probably went in there and you looked for the tree with the biggest branches, and that was, you know, looked like it had a better start. It would get bigger quicker than any of the other trees. But folks, I hate to tell you, that's not how this is gonna work, because our next step after we firm this thing down again and soak it with some water is we're gonna cut most of that off. So let's get the rest of this packed up, and then we'll get to the trimming part.
I woke up on the inside. I woke up and looked outside. And I woke up to a world asleep. And I am wide awake.
All right, so do you remember all these big, beautiful branches that you saw that you were trying not to smack people with as you were walking the aisles of Costco? Well, sorry to tell you, but most of these gotta go. According to the instructions on the bag, and that's what I would encourage you to do, is just read the bag. It says for trees to prune all of these side branches. That's this, that, and then this little, I'm gonna cut this one off completely. But to prune them within 6 inches of the main trunk. And so that's this much right there, that's about 6 inches on my hand. And then to trim the main trunk, which if you take a look at your tree, one branch is gonna stick out as kind of your main trunk, and you're gonna cut 1/3 off of that. Now, why in the world are you about to cut your tree down after you just planted it? Well, the main reason is right now you are not looking to produce fruit or produce growth up here. The purpose is to make sure that tree, the energy that's in the tree right now, is focusing all of its energy upon putting roots down into the ground. So let's go ahead and trim this tree. We're gonna start with the side branches. We're gonna trim about 6 inches off, just like it said. I'm gonna look for a nodule actually, and I'm gonna cut right above it. There it goes, just like that. Another 6 inches. I'm gonna cut this little one off completely. And then another 6 inches. I'm cutting right up above a node, a growth node. Look at all of that branch. That's like a huge percentage of the tree that just went away. And then same thing over here. I'm gonna cut right above a node and throw that off to the side. And then here is my main trunk, the one this main the tag is attached to, and I'm gonna cut 1/3 off, which means I'm gonna cut up right here. There's about 1/3. So there you go, our tiny little tree. Our already tiny tree just got a whole lot smaller, but it's the right thing to do for your tree to make sure that you are giving it the best start possible. So thanks for hanging out with me. This is a little different than my normal fishing video, but it's spring, and so we're all kind of focused on putting trees in the ground and flowers in the ground, and I hope you enjoyed this video. Be sure to subscribe to my channel if you would like to see any more house, homesteading, fishing, and all the other everyday adventures that I do here. Take care.